Well, good afternoon and thank you very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the Inside Government End of the Year Review for the year 2024. I mean, it has been an inventive year, from protest to economic growth and of course to global geopolitics, affecting our daily lives. This is the show where we're going to review all these plus make projections for the year 2025. I have a team of prominent Kenyans who are joining us here at our national studios in Broadcasting House here in Nairobi. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Hashtag Inside Government is what we are using this afternoon. And for the next 1.5 hours or 2 hours, we're going to review Kenya's economic performance, social aspect, as well as the political landscape in the year 2024. And of course, we're going to touch a little bit on what is going to happen in the year 2025. I'm about to unveil my team of prominent Kenyans who are going to guide us in this conversation. I am joined by Dr. Narendra Guru. He's the chairperson of the Devki group of companies. He's joining us here. He's a prominent Kenyan. He's here with us this afternoon. Thank you very much, Narendra, for joining us this afternoon. Very good indeed. And just next to Narendra, we have the PS for Tourism, John Ololtua. Asante sana, Bwana PS, for joining us. He will be giving us some statistics around tourism numbers and, of course, the expectations for the year 2024 as well as 2025. And next to John, we have the PS in charge of ICT. He's a familiar face in our studios. This is Engineer John Tanui. Bwana PS, asante sana for joining us. And of course, he's going to take us through the ICT agenda in 2024 and of course, the projections for the year 2025. When I jump over to the next, to our other side of the studio, we have Stanley Kamanguya. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the ICT Authority. Asante sana, John, for your time.
Thank you.
Very good. And just next to John, we have Vimal Shah. He's the chairperson of BIDCO group of companies, a prominent businessman here in Kenya and beyond. Asante sana, Vimal, for joining us.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Susan Mang'eni. She's the CS in charge. She's the PS in charge of MSMEs development. Madam PS, asante sana for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Very good. Gentlemen and a lady, I want to start with you, but I want to hear your introspections for the year 2025, 2024, and I want to start with Narendra. When you look at the year 2024, I want you to share with us, what you'd classify as the ups and lows for the Republic of Kenya.
2024 was, of course, a bit challenging year because we have gone through a lot of ups and downs, especially to do with the taxes and the protest and many things. Country has gone through a very rough time, which is testing period and is testing us and our water, maybe by God, that how we behave in the difficult situations. But all the difficulties, what I learned comes with the good result. So that taught us and to the government that what is good for the Kenyan and what is not. And that gave us the better laws. A lot of good changes has come. Everybody is not happy with all the laws, and it is not possible anywhere in the world. But the laws have become a bit more favorable for the investment and industries and for the creation of the job. So as far as I'm concerned, 2024 was the learning lesson for us and establishing the foundation for the Kenyan, which way to go and how we will be able to have gained confidence from the international market and the local investors towards the creation of the job and toward the making sure that the Kenya becomes the self-sufficient in everything. And that is what we learned in 2024.
In 2024, you say that the year was a learning lesson.
It was learning lesson and it was foundation.
And it was foundation. Very good. Yes, Bwana PS. Ololtua, yes.
Yeah. First of all, let me indicate that 2024 has been a good year in terms of the progresses that we have made in various sectors in government. As has been said, yes, it is a learning lesson, particularly for a number of people. But if you look at the programs that have been put in place, I can actually say with certainty that there was a lot of progress across government. If you look at the housing sector, what they have done, you look at the MSME, my colleague is around here, you look at ICT, you look at tourism and many other sectors in government, you can see that most of the targets and objectives that have been put in place have actually been able to progress very well. And the lessons that continue to be learned will certainly enable us to do even much better. So it's really a process of learning and working and achieving as we go along. So in my opinion, yes, the lessons learned have helped us to progress as much.
Mm-hmm. So from where you stand, it was a challenging year and a year of progress.
Yes.
That's how you would sum it up.
Correct.
And of course, Engineer PS, what about you?
2024 really marked a period where we laid a strong foundation for the country's takeoff. As you're aware, the bottom-up transformation agenda set very ambitious plans for our country to address some of the long-lasting issues we've had as a country, to lower the cost of living, to eliminate things like hunger or reduce hunger, to create jobs, reduce the issue of disparity in terms of development across the country or bridging the divide, and also addressing housing, healthcare. Those were the real focus areas which are really very ambitious for our country. But I can say 2024 helped us to lay a sound foundation. There were a lot of legislative work done to lay the foundation for the transformation. There was the issue of looking for resources to ensure we have the resources to implement these projects. There were also the normal process of engaging stakeholders to ensure we bring everyone on board. There was some court cases that came on a number of areas, but as a country we believe, we laid the right foundation for us now in 2025 to bring the desired impact into our economy through some of these great initiatives.
Mm-hmm. I do recognize that you have mentioned the word foundation, 3 times. And so I think you would sum it up as a year of laying the foundation. Very good. I'll be coming back to you just to find out what kind of foundation did we lay in the year 2024. I just want to turn on to Vimal. Shah. You are an industrialist and, of course, part of the private sector. And we always say that the private sector is the heartbeat of any economy. So how would you sum up the year 2024? And let's hear from you.
I think very exciting and very interesting year. Like others have put it, it's an year of learning. We learned a lot of what we should not do in future. We've also learned a lot of what works for us. So a challenging year, a very, very challenging year, but resilience of Kenya has been shown. And I think that's something that we got to say kudos to, because we've seen that Kenya can still sustain a lot more. But it's a time for reset. And that's why we need to reset everything and see what we need to do. And I think government is also looking and saying, how do we reset it? And I think it's a year of collaboration. So 2024, learn a lot, unlearn a lot, and also let's reset.
Very good. For you, I would say, you say it was a year that was exciting, learning, and of course challenging at the same time. That's a very interesting cocktail. I want to hear from Susan. You're the one in charge of MSMEs, and MSMEs are the heartbeat of this country. I mean, employing more than 80% of the country's workforce and generating more than 85% of the country's GDP. How would you classify the year 2024?
Yeah, thank you. But before I talk about the year 2024, let me also look at the year 2023 and the year 2022. So 2022 was the year of expressing our various aspirations, dreaming, doing political dreams around it. This is what we're gonna do. That's where we made promises. 2022 was the year where we were planning. 2024 was a year for rollout. Was a year now when we take our plan into actions. And the better agenda being disruptive in its nature, because it's a socioeconomic transformation that we have in the way we do things in our economy, in all our sectors, is supposed to disrupt the norm. So 2024, as we started rolling out, so the expectations start meeting the realities, and the pain from disruption start coming out, and you can see a lot of uncertainty, restlessness happening in the population. So everything that was happening is trying now to adapt to the new norm which was coming, and you could see when we came up with the finance bill and they're saying no, but because we made this promise, we have planned, so we have to roll out. And when you start digging the foundation, like my PS is saying, of course there's some sort of movement, a tectonic movement from what you call your comfort zone to a zone that probably you are a little bit strange to it. And so those reactions that were happening were a bit more constructive, but because it's bound to happen where you're disrupting, but this disruption was in a better way. Mm-hmm. So I see it as the real now, the year of action, the year of rollout. And so as we look into 2025, we can only now take our action to another level.
Very good. I mean, you're talking about disruptions, tectonic tones, and seismic shifts and all that. I also want to turn to Stanley Kamanguya, the CEO of ICT Authority. I mean, you sit at the helm of the ICT agenda in this country. So how would you classify the year 2024 from your lenses?
Thank you very much. I think it's been an interesting year. It's been a year of great learning for all of us. And when you look at the tech space, we have also realized what technology can actually do for us on the positive and also on the negative. You may recall earlier in the year, we did have a massive outage of submarine cables which affected our continent. And that just went to teach us the power of countries being interconnected and what technology is doing in driving not only our economic growth as a country, but also as a continent as a whole. We have also seen a lot more involvement of our young people in the agendas of the country, which I think is a good thing. We have seen technology also playing a bigger role in terms of resolving our social and economic challenges. So it's been a learning year, but it's also a year where, as the PSs have said, we have done a lot of foundational work to propel our agenda of digital transformation forward.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I still want to stick with you when I get to hear from this. I mean, this year we saw the power of social media, what the social media can do. And the social media is powered by the ICT. And we saw young people coming out in the streets with the national flag, a bottle of water, and a smartphone. I don't know what you learned out of what we saw between the months of June and August.
Yeah, this is what I was alluding to when I spoke about the power of technology from a positive and a negative side. First of all, we have also learned that there is need to educate ourselves on the responsible use of social media in terms of messaging and in terms of the impact it has when used in an improper manner. But also, social media has helped to shape a lot of narratives in our country. We have seen a lot of engagement, for example, on the X platforms, where traditionally those kind of engagements were not there, allowing people to exchange ideas and learn from each other. It also then goes to speak around what we then need to do going forward to provide a proper framework for governance of the social media space, to encourage responsible use, but also to make sure that we remain open as a government from providing these platforms and allowing, freedom of use of social media in a responsible manner.
The man who is just seated next to you, Vimal Shah, talked about exciting and learning. What was so exciting about 2024 and what lessons did you learn?
I think you just said it, right? The power of the internet. I think the exciting part was to see that a lot of people can actually be inspired to come onto the streets and talk about simply transparency, accountability, and good governance, and being leaderless. So I just think that that's an exciting space to say, now people have woken up. I think a lot of children, I may call them children, the Gen Zs, are now looking at the budget. They were never looking at it. They were saying, as for the Wazirs. Now they're looking at the budget, they're looking at figures. They are now much more learned. So I guess that is an exciting space to say that now people are alive, to say, fine, what's happening with the economy? What are we going to do? And what do we want in the future? That's where the learning curve has improved a lot. Secondly, I think if you see the people are more alive, people are more sensible now, the people are more aware. In fact, even in government, I think people are listening more. God gave us 2 ears to listen and one mouth to speak from, and they're listening more. So I think that's helped a lot. So overall, that's why I call it exciting.
Very good. But I also still sticking with you, and I would also be wanting this reaction from Narendra, being an industrialist as well, and also part of the private sector. Would you say the year 2024 was fair to the private sector?
No. I think it's not fair, number one. Number two, a lot of experimentation happened in 2024. A lot of trial and error of doing this and that. And I think knee-jerk reactions to putting in levies and taxes and comments, every single place you see there's a levy or a tax or whatever. And I think that's become an issue there. We've reduced our competitiveness from Kenya. Our competitiveness in the regional, in Kenya, in East Africa, in the TFTA and in AFCFTA, the African area, has gone down dramatically. Why? Because of these levies and whatnot, where it makes our exports much more lower. So we've actually brought our exports overall much, much lower. So that foreign currency earner, which the Treasury wants, is gone down. Number two, a lot of companies are saying, okay, Kenya used to be the hub. We used to think about Kenya as a hub for manufacturing, and from here, sell to the whole region. That's changed. Now, why did that change? It's because of this experimentation. And therefore, the learnings from that, I hope, and I'm saying again, I hope that we've learned not to do that again. In fact, to collaborate with people, talk to them and say, fine, what do we do? And you do it in a phased manner. When you want to do backward linkages, you have a 3 or 5 year phase where you actually make it happen in a manner that's better. But again, it's got to be very open and transparent. That's where the problem is. Right now, we don't know exactly what the policies are. And therefore, we need a complete clear direction in terms of where do we go on AFCFTA? Do we make it a hub? Do we not make it a hub? Or do we become a supermarket where we can now bring in product from Egypt or elsewhere and we'll still consume? Our consumers will still consume our products. The question is, will they be made in Kenya? And that's where we're losing jobs.
Very good. Narendra, do you agree with Vimal Shah? I mean, I also know that you are a business person, an industrialist. I know this year you have opened about 2 mega companies, one in West Pokot, the clinkerization plant, and the other one in Voi. What would you classify the year 2024 as a good year for business, a challenging one, a learning one? How would you classify it?
See, O'Brien, any country to grow, if they don't protect local jobs and local manufactured product, that country will never become independent. We will be always slave of the exporting countries. Even if you buy a toothpick made in anywhere else in the world and import in Kenya, you have exported the job of one Kenyan. I am putting up the investment since last 10 years, but what I have put it in last 2-3 years, I never did it in the past. The banks, financial institute, and the international financial institutes have supported me because all project what I put to make Kenya import free, create the jobs in the country. And it is not possible until unless the country either bans importation or put the heavy taxes. For example, just a month ago, President Trump won. On the main agenda was that I will put 250% custom duties and the levies on imported items. And he put it. He is already put it. Not 10%, not 20%, 250%. Some of them was 10, it is 70%. Some of them is up to 250%. America has got 4% job losses. That means they don't have the jobs. 4% people. We have 40%. Don't have jobs. Until unless we don't protect our Kenyan jobs, we will never be able to see the peace in the country. I am chancellor in Egerton University. We release 15,000 graduates every year. There is many other university in the country. 50,000 graduates we are getting every year. Where is the job for them? There is no jobs. Why? We have never become independent. We have just got independent from the British, but we are still slave of imports from India, China, UAE, Europe. We are still slave.
And Turkey.
To become independent, we have to have much more taxes on the imported items. As my good friend said, Vimal, that the levies, if there is no levy, I will not put on the imported steel, I will not put my investment in Manga, which is in Voi. Last 1,000 years, nobody have put anything. I have put there 11 billion Kenyan shillings. 2,000 Kenyans will work there. Forget about that. Samburu, which is just before Mariakani, nobody was there for hundreds of years. I put my steel plant there. And there is 3,000 people working. Why? It is because of the protection have come from the law and from the government. This is the way forward for any country. We should not look for the Africa, we should not look for the world. There is nothing, if we don't have the bread, no Africa country, other country will come and give us. We have to produce ourselves. The way President have put, or government have put the fertilizer subsidy is not because of they want to give cheaper fertilizer to the farmers. It is just because of they want to make sure, government wants to make sure that we are self-sufficient in maize, which is our basic food. And if we import, it is a shame for us. And we have fertile land, and we have so many people, they are unable to compete because imported maize and imported sugar is cheaper than produced locally. Unless we protect that. And that is why I am in the opinion of that the government is in the right direction, and if this government continue sticking to this without any corruption, because the law is there, but the people are looking for the loopholes. Ikokuta Mzima, they make a wall, but the importers looks for the window, and there is a queue there. Nobody is there at the door.
So you're saying we need to stick to the lane of protecting our local industries.
Local jobs and local industry.
Very good. I want to hear this from the peers, and Narendra has managed to grasp it very well. I mean, every year we are producing about 15,000 graduates into the job market, and the government has been very deliberate on expanding the ICT infrastructure in this country so that we can send as many young people into this space. What would you say your department did to expand the ICT sector? And of course, what policies did you put in place to ensure that the sector is safeguarded?
Thank you, O'Brien. I really want to pick what Kuru has talked about. We have a large number of our young people coming out of our universities every year. And for many years, we have been maybe planning on how they can continue from primary school, secondary school, and even the other tertiary institutions. But we've not had really very concrete plans on terms of creating jobs for these individuals. Public sector space is quite small that can absorb very few of us. Private sector is still also very small. We have a very big MSME sector, which we believe will be very potential. But manufacturing, as my panelist here, Kuru, has talked, presents a great opportunity for our country. And the legislations which were done, the rearrangement in the business is to shift from trade towards manufacturing and towards creating local jobs in the country. So the jobs program targeted various areas, manufacturing being one of them. Tourism, increasing the number of tourists that come to our country, is also a jobs program. Looking at global opportunities for diaspora jobs is also a jobs program. And also looking within the ICT sector, because the digital economy ecosystem is growing so fast globally. And many countries are growing the percentage of their digital economy in respect to the overall economy. And Kenya wants to ensure that we are not left out of this ecosystem and we are not left with the opportunities, but make sure everyone in our country achieves the opportunity in the digital space. We've continued to focus on our submarine cable connectivity to ensure we are well connected globally, working well with the global partners like Kukul. We are very happy to see them creating a link from Mombasa all the way to South Africa through Uganda on the land, creating diversity to ensure we are well connected globally. We've looked at the policies to attract in terms of investment in this country. We've reviewed some of the policies that restricted, like the shareholding structure for you to invest in the ICT sectors. We unlocked this, and we've seen companies like Amazon Web Services and the others coming to invest and unlock opportunities. Software development is a great opportunity that our people needs to access, and we only have to address the ecosystem so that the investment can be easy. We are also looking at enhancing connectivity. That's why we are talking about adding additional 100,000 kilometers so that we can connect every part of the country, so that one doesn't need to travel for them to be able to access global opportunities. And that's why we're talking about the digital hubs, so that we can skill our people, we can provide places for digital entrepreneurship, and also for accessing global opportunities. We are also working with the private sector to see that we also see manufacturing in the digital or tech space. It's very good to see what Guru is doing. Seeing us going back to days when we could see manufacturing still from the very raw materials, which we hear stories from our great-grandparents about blacksmiths. And seeing happening in our time, in this time, is a strong foundation that will shape the future. And we want to congratulate Kuru for really doing this, because it's giving shape to our country. The other important space is the electronics industry. If you check the Asian countries, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, South Korea, they made the leap within a very short time because of focusing on the electronic or the tech industry. Within the last 1.5 years, we've been able to lay foundations for Kenya's electronics industry. And this is one of the most exciting things for us. This week we visited 3 industries which are linked to our ICT sector. One is the East African Device Assembly Center, East African Device Assembly Kenya, who have established a facility, and they have manufactured over 1 million devices, electronic devices, the first which has never existed before. And if you check what has shaped those Asian countries, is what has just started in Kenya. Those are laying foundations which will have huge impact in our country. We've also seen manufacture of fiber cable. When we are talking, we used to import cables, but now we've been able to see manufacture of locally produced fiber in Kenya. And we are able to hear that they are able to export up to 30% of that. So these are the foundations and starting to bring those jobs now to here in the country. We have also M-Copper, who have also already established a manufacturing facility here. Overall, 2.7 million devices produced in Kenya. This is laying a foundation of a new industry that did not exist and bringing jobs home. And imagine if we reach 15 million, 20 million produced locally, and a percentage of it being exported. We are seeing a scenario in the years to come that our export structure will change. It will no longer be coffee or earnings from diaspora or tea, but we will have new products in technology space, unlocking many opportunities. Housing, just closing on the jobs issue, housing is also a great space. That housing project for the last 3 years are steering the sector for infrastructure. We're bringing 5 state departments, and we are looking at the first 3 years. We've been able to, as a country, build probably about 1,000 houses in the public sector. But now we are increasing 30,000% to 300,000 in the next 3 years. This will create huge opportunities in construction, bringing the technical people, and also another important thing, consolidating demand for products from the steel, from the plastic industry, from the wood industry. So we will be creating huge potential. So it's a huge transformation, and it can bring shocks sometimes in the ecosystem. A few people might complain, but I believe the foundations being laid is going to bring a new Kenya, which will bring jobs and bring new industries to our region.
Very good. Also look at the tourism sector, and traditionally Kenya has been one of the top tourism destinations here in Africa. By September this year, I mean, the number of arrivals was about was it 1.8 or 2 M, and there were projections that the year 2024 we were going to go back to and of course surpass the pre-pandemic levels. And I want to hear this from the peers for tourism. How are the numbers looking like, and how are we repositioning the tourism industry to become a key driver of economy as well as jobs?
Thank you very much, Brian. Just before I come to the tourism sector, let me also add my voice to what has been discussed earlier. I would like to say that there is a lot of improvement that the government is doing in terms of creating jobs and ensuring that even our local industries flourish. There are a number of programs that have been put in place. For example, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, where we are encouraging government ministries and agencies to be able to buy from those industries that are based in Kenya. There has been also a lot of effort in terms of the housing project, as just my colleague has indicated. And you can be able to see that a number of opportunities are given to the youth in that particular aspect. And so I would actually add my voice and say that the focus is very clear, and very soon we'll be able to create many jobs, as many jobs as possible, even in the ICT sector as indicated. Coming back to the tourism sector, I would like to say that, first of all, the COVID-19 pandemic really affected tourism, and the numbers went down. By around 2022, we had 1.4 million arrivals. But by 2023, the numbers had gone up to 2.086 million by end of 2023. And we can see the trajectory is actually an upward trend. Right now, 2024 we speak, we are projecting that by end of this month of December, it will be about 2.3 million. We will not have achieved the target. We had actually targeted about 2.4 million by end of 2024. But the projections were slightly affected, especially around the month of June and July, because of certain challenges. But from the projections, we will be clocking about 2.3 million by end of this December, where we are, which actually is a very big improvement compared to the previous years that we have had ahead, and still not really what we have really wanted to achieve. There is still potential to achieve even much more. And we are taking a lot of measures to ensure that we increase the number of arrivals, and I can assure you that we have the potential of arriving. Our target by 2027 is 5 million. And we hope to always progressively increase the numbers. We have put a lot of strategies in place to be able to increase these numbers. One key strategy is marketing and promotion. We are really improving in terms of marketing, and we are targeting many countries across the world, across the region, and we are doing a lot of marketing through digital, the digital space, and my colleague PS ICT has really played a key role in ensuring that we utilize the digital space to be able to market our country. But we have also come up on other programs on marketing, which includes reaching out to the diaspora. In fact, we have a program known as One Diaspora, One Tourist. In other words, we are also involving the diaspora to be able to market our country. We're also reaching to our missions abroad through the State Department for Diaspora Affairs. We have actually had a lot of collaboration together to ensure that we reach out. But above all, the Kenya Tourism Board has also gone ahead to be able to do targeted marketing through roadshows, exhibitions, and also through partnerships with airlines and county governments and other MDAs to be able to go do a lot of marketing. Mm-hmm. We have also gone out to reach the youth. In fact, we have just launched, the Cabinet Secretary just launched a youth program where we are encouraging youths to use their talents. Some of them are artists, some are musicians, some are actors, and we have also brought them on board to be able to do a lot in trying to ensure that we reach out. As part of marketing, that's just one area. Maybe the time will not give me, I may not have enough time to outline the marketing component. But secondly, we have also looked at diversification of tourism products. For a long time, I think we have relied on our safari and beach products. But currently, we are targeting to look at the other products, which include but not limited to medical tourism, cultural tourism, adventure, agro-tourism, historical and heritage tourism, just to mention a few. And we are building in liaison with the county governments and other departments. We are building each and every one of them so that we can be able to ensure that when our visitors come, they have a variety to choose from. And that if we complete that, because we have already started, we expect to have Kenya as an all-year-round tourist destination.
I also want to hear from you. I mean, you know, traditionally we have marketed Kenya as a safari destination, as a beach destination, as a cultural destination. But the world is changing. I mean, we are now focusing on the meetings, incentives, and meetings hubs. We're also looking at shopping destinations. Dubai is a very good example. Malaysia and Vietnam. And Kenya has some of the best shopping malls, you know, here in Africa. We can beat, you know, we can compete favorably with some of the best shopping destinations in the world. But we are yet to identify that niche market and tell the world, look here. Apart from coming here to sunbathe and take a dive into our oceans and of course take a wildlife tour, you can also do your shopping here in Kenya. Are we looking at adding that niche market as part of our tourism strategy?
Brian, first of all, I totally agree with you. Part of this tourism product diversification is aimed at identifying all this. I've just mentioned the two, which is the few that I've mentioned. But the MICE tourism is very, very key. And you can see that we are already targeting. Let me just give a few examples of what we have done to target that. First of all, we have been able to link up with various government departments to ensure that we host as many conferences as possible in Kenya. It's one way of attracting this space of MICE. And we are indeed very happy that His Excellency the President himself has been able to facilitate the hosting of very, very many international conferences, which has actually helped us to even add in the tourist numbers. But above that, we are also targeting as improving infrastructure, because MICE will require that you have conventions, you have facilities that are being used. And we started with the KICC, where we did a lot of refurbishment and improvement of KICC. And since that was done, we can see the number of conferences being held in that particular facility have now gone up. But we are also reaching out to the county governments. Our vision is that we have, these are our major towns like Sumu, Nakuru, Mombasa, coming up with convention centers, so that we can be able to really have as many convention centers as possible. And we're also encouraging the private sector, because tourism is really private sector driven. A lot of work is really being done by the private sector. I'm indeed very happy to report that because of the investment policies that have been put in place, we have had a number of international hotel brands also opening up in the country. And we have been encouraging those particular hotels to also ensure that they have adequate space for conferencing. And therefore, this is a very important space. But there's something you have added, which I think we can be able to look at together what we can do. Some countries are using shopping malls, for example, as an attraction. And I think Nairobi here, the other day I was challenging His Excellency, the Governor of Nairobi County, that probably we need to put our heads together, look at what we can be able to do in terms of the shopping malls, in terms of entertainment joints, in terms of entertainment, tourism, to be able to ensure that this MICE sector grows. But above all, we have also looked at wedding tourism. I'm very happy that we linked up with the Attorney General through my Cabinet Secretary to see how we can also open up that space. We have a lot of people from Uganda, Saudi Arabia and other countries who may want to carry out weddings here, and they normally come with large numbers of people. So we are looking at every sector to see how we can be able to improve. Very good.
I want to turn on to Susan Mang'eni. I mean, you carry the future of this country in terms of business and entrepreneurship on your shoulders. I mean, bearing in mind that you are the one in charge of the MSMEs development. Your docket is supposed to nurture them, to help them thrive, and of course to create the next big ventures, the BIDCOs of this world, the Devkis of this world. I want to hear from you. What have you done in 2024 to ensure that the SMEs are in a better position than they were in January 2024?
Thank you, O'Brien. But before I come to that, allow me just also to invite myself to the conversation. And more so just picking up from where Dr. Guru and Vimal Shah left. Well, and I want to let them just know that the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is pro-private sector. Because if you look at our 5 key pillars, the pillar on agriculture, promoting or enhancing agricultural productivity, transforming the MSME, the universal health care, the housing, the ICT, all these pillars, the 5 key pillars that we have, the ones that now are informing our development agenda, are all geared towards promoting the private sector and more so focusing on the manufacturing sector. So unemployment is our biggest concern in this country, and rightfully so, is the biggest concern for the continent. A continent where the average age is 17 years old, it will be the biggest concern, more so the youth unemployment. And so those 5 key pillars, we look at them and we carefully select them because they have the greatest potential in creating more and secure jobs into our economy. I like the fact that they appreciate the interventions which the government is doing in the space of agriculture and even housing. And the reason why I said that this year was more disruptive because we were rolling out. We are rolling out intervention that seeks to promote the local manufacturing sector, because we all agree that jobs and secure jobs are created through the manufacturing, in the manufacturing sector. Now we have a potential workforce of around 20 million Kenyans, out of which only 3.5 million are formally employed. But if you break down the 3.5 million in the formal sector, you find that the civil service, where I belong and my colleagues here belong to, apart from the 2 industry captains, can only accommodate less than 1 million. And to be specific, it's around probably 970,000. And so 2.5 million are being generated in the private sector. What does that tell? It tells us that we need to put more investment in the private sector to create more jobs. So we need to see how do we gain traction towards the private sector. And how do we gain that traction? Is now coming back and asking ourselves, what is the outlook of our business in our economy? You find 98% of businesses are in the MSME. My friends here, my two friends here, Dr. Guru and Vimal, only are among the 2% because those are the large enterprises. But then also, if you come to MSME, then you find that majority of MSME are micro. So when you are in that micro space, the micro entrepreneurs again are also majorly informal. So they're not visible. Whereas that economic engagement enables them to put food on the table. But you find it's some sort of like a lottery kind of arrangement where today you have, tomorrow you don't have. So what is it that you're doing? And what is it that we had set out to do in the plan? Number one, what we promised, remember I said that 2022 was a year of talking about our promise. So in 2022, we promised, first of all, we are going to decriminalize work. So first of all, we recognize our set of work that we have in our economy, be it border, be it, like hawking, any sort of work, any sort of economic engagement that can enable a Kenyan put food on the table. Then two, we are going to relook at our regulatory framework, the taxation, the policies, and see how can we make it better, create a conducive environment in which that work then can be formalize and become a sustainable source of income. We also say, for one to do business, the major challenge has always been access to finance. And access to finance in this sense comes because majority of Kenyans at the bottom of the economic pyramid do not own means of production. And most of them are not visible in the credit market. In other words, they lack the data footprints that can enable the mainstream financing sector to make an assessment in determining whether to lend to them on their ability and their willingness to borrow and repay. So we needed to create that visibility. And again, also, while acknowledging that majority of them, of course, they don't own means of production, which include the title deed, the logbook, and like I say, most of them are not employed, so they don't have a formal or rather pay slip which they can commit to a credit institution. Then we're asking ourselves, how do we rework around the collateral system in this country to unlock access to affordable credit? Then of course within that space also, you realize for the MSMEs now to participate effectively, they need to invest, to start looking into value addition, to add value into what they're doing. Because we have majorly been trading raw materials that we buy, we take, we don't add value. And it's only in value addition that you get to create, to generate more value out of it. So we look around and say, how do we make this work? Because an individual MSME may not have the capacity to buy machinery that will enable him or her add value. So then we come up with a concept of common user facilities. How do we aggregate, cluster these MSME per sector and enable them by setting up or rather investing in common user machineries where an individual MSME can go there and do that. So that was what we committed to do in terms of now helping to transform the MSME sector. So where are we today? I'll talk about an initiative with regard to access to financing. And this is where the Hustler Fund comes in. Now, many people...
2 years, just the other day?
Yes, so 2 years down the line, what are the key milestones that we can talk about Hustler Fund? One, we have created credit visibility of 25 million Kenyans that have so far signed up on the Hustler Fund platform. The Kenyans who did not have a trace or rather trail of any credit history, today their credit history is available, and any stakeholders that needs to serve them can now have something to assess the ability to borrow or their willingness to borrow and repay. That's one. Now, because it's been some sort of, it's an intervention, and anytime you see a government coming in to intervene, is trying to correct a certain market failure. A certain market failure in the economy that either makes the economy not do well because majority of the population then are not partaking those opportunities. Now, in the space of the credit market, when His Excellency President Ruto was assuming office, close to 8 million Kenyans were in CRBs. When you are in CRB, you have been discredited. And recently, when we were marking the second year anniversary, we had interaction with some of the financial institutions. They were saying, for them to whitelist you, it will take about a minimum of 7 years. Imagine you are a young person, assuming you are 20 years, then you borrowed, and out of circumstances which PS for Tourism talked about, the various shocks that we encountered in the last, during Corona and stuff. Then you borrowed, and because of circumstances you are not able to repay in time, then you are blacklisted. It will take you about 7 years. You are 27 years old.
Before you can be whitelisted.
Before you can be whitelisted. So we realize that if we continued with that trend, then majority of Kenyans are not going to participate effectively in the economy. So then that's how the government now reached out to private sector in the financing space, sat down with the banks, sat down with other stakeholders like in the telecoms, and say, we can leverage on the progress we made so far in the mobile technology space, where each and every household today, at least they have a mobile phone, and cut down on the cost of administering credit, which usually now gets piled up into the interest rates, and demonstrate to other industry players that it's possible to serve this population at the bottom of the economic pyramid. Most of the time, you don't want to touch them, you don't know them, there is no visibility around them. Most of them are young people or are women, but they have to participate in the economy so that then we leave no one behind. So what did we do? We said, as a government, these are our people. We are supposed to rehabilitate. We are supposed to build, to make them become investment ready, become more credible, help them to acquire some level of creditworthiness. So where are we 2 years down the line? So out of the 25 million Kenyans that signed up, and we made it universal, so anybody could go there. So we give everybody a fair chance, either to build their credit history or to repair their credit rating. So what we did then, you could access 500 shillings up to 50,000 through the personal loan. So today we have about 2 million Kenyans who have demonstrated good borrowing behavior. Because from that experience, we have also formulated a Hustler Fund behavioral rating system, where we take these people, now we are able to assess and see what is your creditworthiness. So all those 25 million Kenyans, everybody has a rate ranging from A to C, with A being excellent, with C being very poor. Why are we doing all this? Why rating? The rating, if you are rating A, for example, A1, it seems now the private sector financing can now give you loan based on your good collateral, your good behavior that you have demonstrated. Well. So we launched a product to graduate, because it's an experience. If you demonstrate good borrowing behavior, you get graduated. So our graduating product today is called Bridge Loan, which we launched last week. And today we have Kenyans who are now able to borrow on the Hustler Fund platform more than 100,000 per transaction. You dial *254#, you borrow 100,000, because their good behavior is now rewarding them. They're being trusted. So we had people had their limit, let's say 50,000, and it was being tripled if you are A1. But also another thing is happening. Now, many Kenyans told us, you see, the 10 or 14 days is not sufficient to enable me borrow and do business. We say, wait. So we are going, the next opportunity will enhance you to a term loan. So we have doubled from 14 days to 1 month. So you have Kenyans actually who can borrow for a period of 1 month within the same terms, which is 8% per annum. Someone will say, why are you distorting the market? We are not. Because we are intervening and we are working in partnership with the private sector, especially the bank. So again, the opportunity which you have put on the bridge product is that Initially, we wouldn't know which bank, but now that we have a credit history, we are moving it to a space where you start having the banking experience. So when you sign up for the bridge product, you select a bank, and that bank will start following you up to understand you better, which sector of business you're doing, where you are located, so that other than just also their business being credit line, they start also investing more in capacity building.
Very well.
So what are we giving Kenyans as I finalize? Because we have to enable them to access credit, affordable credit, to be known, supported, so to participate effectively into the economy. What we are giving them, first of all, we have enabled them by establishing credit profiles they are known. Secondly, we are now putting them now in an environment to start acquiring the banking experience. If today you walk to the bank, you'll be asked to be banked, you'll be asked give a bank statement of 6 months. Now, most of these Kenyans did not have that experience. So from building your credit profile, you now go to the second level, you experience the banking environment for 6 months. And then we are going to assess that and see how to graduate you now to a level where you can access even millions to enable you to do a thriving business. So I just wanted to say that all our intervention are pro-private sector. Where I sit as a State Department of MSME, my work is to see how do I crowd in MSME, how do I support them so that then they can grow, scale up their businesses, to grow the private sector, to create sustainable jobs.
I can see Vimal Shah want to respond to what you have just said. But before I allow Vimal Shah to say something, I want to bring on board John Okwiri. He's the CEO of Konza Technopolis. And I know that one of the highlights for the year was the passing of the Technopolis bill, which seeks to establish a Technopolis authority who will be in charge of monitoring all the Technopolis in the country. I want to hear from you, John. What would you highlight was the highlights of 2024 for you, and what do you expect going forward?
Thank you very much, O'Brien, for having me in this panel. For us, Konza Technopolis, we've had quite an eventful year, which was earmarked by the successful hosting of the ISP conference. As my PSICT normally says, ISP is like the Olympics of the world in as far as science, technology, innovation is concerned. And we were able to host on behalf of our country, Kenya, to host the ISP conference successfully. Also, as you've mentioned, we've been able to work with our legislative arm of government to sail through the Technopolis bill, and it was passed by the National Assembly. And currently, it's undergoing further review by the Senate, and we believe that soon enough we'll be having the Technopolis Act, which now seeks to anchor Konza Technopolis in law, and also enable us to provide a legislative framework for innovation ecosystem in our country. Therefore, this year has been quite eventful. And remember also, last week we were able to host His Excellency the President in the launching of the Green Tech Hub, which now elevates Konza Technopolis onto a global platform in as far as startup ecosystem, innovation, scaling up of our startups, and also commercialization of knowledge. So as Konza Technopolis and working under the Ministry of ICT, we've had quite an eventful year, and we believe that based on what we have achieved this year, next year looks better because we believe we are going to build up on what we've been able to do this year. That's it, yeah, thank you.
I want you to help us understand. I mean, I know under the new bill, which is currently before Senate, the bill seeks to remove Konza from the equation and just remain with Technopolis Development Authority, which will be in charge of regulating all the other Technopolis cities, because the assumption is that we are going to create a number of Technopolis, at the county levels. how is this a game changer for your organization? And are you in talks with other county governments to establish technology cities?
Yes, thank you. This is quite a game changer because now the concept of smart cities and the concept of technopolises is quite a new concept. And we are leading in ensuring that we are able to transform our country and our counties through this new concept. In that, for a first time, we will be able to master plan our counties, our cities, so that we are able to provide a sustainable environment for our country. And in as far as the Technopolis bill is concerned, it provides us with this legal framework for collaboration with the various countries. We have been able to work, and we've practically done so, working together with the neighboring counties within Konza Technopolis. That is Machakos County, Mang'eni County, and Kajiado. We've been able to work together with the counties to master plan a 10-kilometer radius of Konza Technopolis. In that, as far as providing the necessary infrastructure in advance before the population is concerned, the entire of the 10-kilometer radius around the Technopolis is currently well planned, and it speaks to what we look to do given the Technopolis bill, because we'll be able to scale up to other counties just to show them how providing a master plan for our counties before we bring into the infrastructure and the population will make our counties better in as far as planning for our physical development is concerned. Therefore, the Technopolis bill provides us with that opportunity to provide more value to our counties and also provide investment attractiveness in the counties, because our investors prefer environments which are well planned, which has order, and also which is able to attract with the necessary infrastructure and able to attract also other global investors into our counties. Therefore, the Technopolis bill will enable us to have the legal framework to work together with the counties to provide a sustainable environment for investment and also innovation. If we are able to work together with the counties in that manner, then you find that the impact of Konza Technopolis will be felt across the country. And therefore, this bill is quite a game changer in as far as we are looking at sustainable development that will help our country to leapfrog to the next level.
Good. I want to bring on Stanley before I go to Vimal, Shah. We were talking about you know, the role of ICT and, of course, the digital space in socio-economic development. And I know that this year you launched your strategic plan for the year 2024 to 2027. Can you take us through some of the contents of that document and how it is expected to change the ICT, the face of ICT in this country going forward?
Thank you very much. Before I go to the issue of the strategic plan, allow me to just mention something about this very important discussion on jobs. And I want to say that the future of work is actually digital. Both as an enabler of jobs, but also digital in terms of doing actual digital jobs. A few years ago, if you are an interior designer or a graphic designer, you would have to walk to your clients, you would have to knock on doors for you to get an interior design job. Today, from the platforms that we have deployed as a government, you can be able to get those opportunities online, and you don't need to move an inch for you to execute those tasks and actually earn. And that's why when we talked about 2024 as a year of foundation, on this area of jobs, you'll notice that various government departments have laid out a lot of structures to enable, creation of jobs. If you look at the work that PS Susan is doing, you look at the work at the Ministry of Labour, at the State Department for Diaspora, Kazimaju, and all these platforms, each of these entities have created the structures to provide access to jobs. On the other side, from the ICT jobs perspective, we have also been able to link about 180,000 people to digital jobs. Now what we need to do going forward is to deepen the collaboration so that we can have one place where our young people can be able to access digital jobs and also execute their work. And we are doing this to leverage on the infrastructure that we are laying. We believe that for every 1% increase in internet connectivity, we will be able to translate to about 5% growth in GDP in the coming years. So, and this is where now the discussion of our strategic plan comes into play, because what we did is to try and look for the critical issues from a strategic perspective that are either opportunities or gaps that we can take advantage of. So we identified a number of strategic objectives that we need to address. One of them, of course, being the issue of closing the digital divide, which we are addressing by rollout of digital infrastructure. The other issue is around building a future-ready workforce by making sure that we are escalating digital skilling programs. And we have a number of programs that are currently running within the authority, but also across government. We do have the initiative also under the ministry for digital hubs through the Jitume program. We have the Ajira program. We are also running the Presidential Digital Talent program, which is a program that tries to marry the expectation of the industry from the graduates that are coming from our institutions and trying to piggyback so that also our institutions of higher learning can be able to upgrade their curriculum based on the feedback that is coming. We also identified the issues of cybersecurity and strengthening our systems to be able to protect ourselves from attack. And most importantly, the fourth issue was around the opportunity that we have in the digital space to drive e-commerce and opportunities for the youth, which then links us back to the job. And those are the key areas that I will be addressing in the next 5 years. Under each of those, we have very detailed programs that we are undertaking towards that vision.
Very well. Vimal, I want you also to respond to what PS Mang'eni was talking about in terms of helping as many young people as possible to get into the formal credit system. And I also want to hear from you whether are you comfortable with the strategies that the government is putting in place to attract more investment? I know just this week the Minister for Trade, Stanley talked about a government establishing a task force to look into the issues affecting investment, Kenya as an investment destination. I want to hear your reaction to this.
I think we've got to be very clear about this, that MSMEs, and I agree, have the huge potential, have the maximum potential. But like I was also at the graduation, I'm the Chancellor of Masai Mara University, and we graduated 2,100 students. Now, my advice to them is don't go and look for jobs, become job creators. Now, if they're going to be job creators, they will need to be in the startup industry, they need to be in MSMEs, and then start from there. Now, to incubate them, right, to get them started off, I would ask PS Susan, can we do better? Can we remove a lot of the licensing and the impediments to flow that are there? Would that be a possibility? There's room for improvement there, right? Yes. My point is, this is something that needs to be addressed like tonight, you know, and sorted out quickly because they're there. They're already there waiting to say, what next for me?
What would you describe as an example of a license that you feel should be done away with today?
Before the startup starts up, he has to have 10 licenses.
10.
Each of these licenses, this is 10 minimum. Then, of course, once he starts operations, there are 10 more. So about 10 to 20 licenses. These licenses add no value to that startup. They're just there because a county or this place or that place needs to say, you paid, you've done this. Legitimacy, why can't you have just one single permit and say, fine, done. I'm legitimate, that's it. And therefore, let's exempt them from that, especially startups. When they get to a turnover of 20 million shillings, then you start looking at taxes. Right now, the tax and levy and all that stuff, in order to start them up, 200 to 300,000 shillings is just required for basic infrastructure, which is licensing. I don't think even the Technopolis or whatever, if they start up there, we shouldn't be doing that. Secondly, I think the ICT is amazing. I think what we've done as a policy also for local value addition is amazing. However, we've got to look at competitiveness for every one of them because they say they've done it, they've made the product. They make the product and it is 2 times more expensive than the other products in the supermarket. That product is not going to sell. Therefore, we must look at the whole value chain rather than just saying, got them off, they started manufacturing, started making it, and then done. So my point is competitiveness is a key word in everything we do from now on. Are we competitive? If we're not competitive, what will make us competitive? And those are the impediments to flow we must remove immediately. Otherwise, these people will start up, do something, but soon they'll close down. And I think that's not something we want.
I know you've been very passionate about Kenya as an investment destination. I also want to hear things from Mr. Guru. This year we're also talking about expanding Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. I mean, it has been the region's premier airport destination. I mean, we saw Bola International Airport, what they have done in Ethiopia. It has overtaken JKIA. We have also seen what President Kagame is doing in Rwanda with a planned airport in Kigali. And JKIA, it is still in a bad shape. I mean, we shouldn't be having an airport with leaking roofs in 2024. When you look at the policies that the government is putting in place, from the startup bills to trying to renovate our national airports, are you convinced that we are doing enough to make Kenya an attractive investment destination?
I think let's look at it from 2 different angles. One is the potential. We have the potential to be the hub. There's no doubt about it. We've got the infrastructure. We've got everything ready for it. So we can be an airline hub. We can be a communications hub. We can be an investment hub for a lot of things that go out from here into East Africa, into SADC, and into the whole of Africa. There is no doubt about that. We have the human capital, we have the people, we have the personnel, and I think we have, most important, the brains for doing this. We have the digital infrastructure now, which enables us and makes us level to anybody in New York, anybody in Japan. So there's nothing stopping us from doing it. Now, seeing that there is potential, we could remain the same potential for another 60 years unless we act on it. My point is, let's act on it now. We can agree with everyone that we've laid the rails. The rails are laid. Now we need the trains that come on top and start building on it. Because really, if we don't start moving, this becomes a time bomb. For 1 million people coming into the job market every year, whether graduates or not graduates, and we're not creating that job, I think it's important, number one. Number two, we need to have also living wages. And I think that's important today. Because this year, we've actually hit the pocket of every employee by about 15%. Now another 6% coming up next week. So 20%, you've hit the pockets, but this wage increase has not happened, right? It may be a zero-sum game to say, fine, we've gone this route. We probably need to increase our wages by 20-30% overall as a minimum wage, and therefore we become same as what we were last year in order for government to get revenues. These are the things that I think that we really need to make sure we improve on that. Because of this, the consumption levels have gone down. In fact, consumer products are being consumed 30% less on local production, whether locally produced or whatever.
20%.
30% 30%. Down because the buying power, disposable income has gone down. In fact, it'll go down worse next year. We need to increase that. So there is no doubt about that. Local manufacturing we have to do. There is no doubt about it. I'm agreeing to it. But we must say, okay, fine. Where is the new ones? Where's the old ones? What do we need to do right now to solve issues? Competitiveness, in my opinion, is the most important factor. Because if we're not competitive, selling from here to Uganda, selling from here to Tanzania, or selling from here to the whole of rest of Africa, then we will still be consumers. That's my argument. Right? Today, if somebody says that eggs from Uganda are coming in cheaper than they're made in Kenya, let's go find out, benchmark. Why are they cheaper there? What are they doing differently that we're not doing here? Right?
I know there is a roundtable between the president and the private sector. When you meet with the president, do you raise these issues as a private sector?
Well, we've scheduled one for January. That's the president has promised us that in January we shall meet and then we shall table it all.
Very well. I want to turn on to Guru. I mean, this year, you have launched two mega industries, one in West Pokot and the other one in Voi, multi-billion investment. When you look at the investment process that you went through, what would you classify as hindrances and the opportunities therein that we can exploit as a nation?
See, we have been expanding last couple of years, and this mega investment, both the investment costed us the Mombasa and Pokot is about $600 million.
That's more than 60 billion Kenya shillings.
About 72 to 80 billion Kenya shilling. But it has created 6,000 jobs. And that is more return for me. More than that, I see next 10 years' time, the Kenya is going to be, see 2030, we are talking since last 20 years. 2030 is just next door, we are never going to achieve if these steps is not taken. And the step is stop importation. If we don't, all the country does it. It is not the Kenya is a unique country. All the country does it. Stop importation. I was in Chuka University
Importation.
Yes, importation. Why? I was in Chuka University last month just to give a talk. There is a girl in Chuka University, she is graduating this next year. She came with a project for manufacturing the sanitary towels. But she didn't have the finance. So we try and support her with the finance. And it is just a project in the university they will do. Once it is successful, they want to do it in mega. And it is from the banana leaves. And the sample I have seen, you put here Chinese, you put this, you will not find the difference.
It is of higher quality.
No difference. And the cost will be cheaper than that. But if we do not, the day that girl or that university will be producing mega, by borrowing the money, by taking the help, and if we don't stop importation, we are killing our own children, our own industry. Am I right? So what your question was, why we have invested in short and why we are expanding. Kenya is going in the right direction to make things manufactured in Kenya. And once we have made this policy for long term, the policies shouldn't be every year changing. Every year, June, people are fighting, we are fighting, oh, you remove this, you add this. It is totally nowhere in the world. The policy of the tax for the investment, for the industry, for the business, good business environment should be there for long period. It shouldn't be for today and then next year you don't know. Anybody invest, he will not be able to recoup his investment for 10 years if it is a sizable investment or more. And if there is no protection, the investment, mega investment will never come. For example, recently the government last 2 years have introduced the levy on steel and clinker. And that is what made me boost to put my $600 million and create the jobs. And it will be lifetime for everybody, for anybody. If you put any industry and if you are not protected from the international market, you will say, sorry, why should I do that? I better import and sell it here in Nakwa Dukawala. Isn't it? 2030 vision now will be achieved. Because if they make these policies and make it even better and close all the loopholes, I commend the cabinet's ministries, whoever is giving these suggestions, and also the lawmakers of Kenya, who is also doing in the parliament, and which is I still wonder that they have no knowledge about this, but they have done a correct policy. They have studied, and they try to see how we can be helpful for the country, for the investment friendly. If this exercise continues for next few years, Kenya will remove more than 20% unemployment.
I want also to hear this from you, because this is a question that I have also heard from, coming from many quarters. I mean, what is driving you to set up industries in remote areas? I mean, in areas that are almost inaccessible in this country. I was in Pokot, West Pokot, where you are setting up the clinkerization plant. It is just in the middle of nowhere, but it's a very beautiful place. Why are you setting up companies in the middle of nowhere? And is this likely to be the next phase of Kenya's industrialization agenda?
Brian, you have touched my heart. And I am not a businessman, I'm an industrialist. And if I go further, I'm a pastor. I better tell you. Let me tell you one thing. I've seen the poverty. I know, Saile hakuna kitu kwa mafuko, how do you feel? I know when you don't have the bread on the table, how do you feel? In Nairobi, nobody sleeps hungry. If we are talking about hunger, nobody sleeps hungry. In Kisumu, in Mombasa, in Eldoret, nobody sleeps hungry. In these villages, you come with me to Mwanga, you come with to Pokot, you come with me to Samburu, where we have put steel plant, you come with to Imali. I've seen the people having one meal or no meal. I drive myself, I go everywhere and see how the people, first I see where you research the poorest county, you will find Samburu. I put my first plant there. Most unsecured county, Pokot, I went there. I put the plant there. Today, there is no what you call this, Elena, Iba Gombe, what do you call that? Cutter rustler. It is not there. Because, I don't know, but some of them may be working with me. Because I've given them the job. Yeah, they're working. And that is what we need in the country. Because this is Kenya, is not that Nairobi is mine and Pokot is not mine. And very humble people. I'll be very honest to you. I have no industry in Nairobi.
Not even a single one?
Not a single. Ata jumba iko nje.
The closest is the one in Ruiru?
Because I found best people far from Nairobi. Nairobi, you will be simu taibiwa. Isn't it? But there, no, and in Pokot I have my house. I sleep there.
In Pokot?
In Pokot. In Samburu I have my house. In Imali I have my house. I sleep there. It is the safe place. Only we have to make it. We have to create the environment. And it is the duty of...
Where are you going to next? Which county?
Which
county are you likely to invest in next?
Next, Tharaka Nithi.
Tharaka Nithi County?
Yes, and I'm going next week.
What are you setting up there?
I will not say because it is my secret.
We shall know in due course.
I want to do that. Why I'm telling you no, 1 minute, give me. Because you have given me the chance to talk to the people of Kenya. That we have to be proud and patriotic Kenyan. And we have to invest and do, if you are a real industrialist, go to the people where most needed and create the job and opportunity for them. Then we are doing something for the country and for the people, and also for ourselves. I'm very proud Kenyan and patriotic.
Very good. And we shall be on the lookout to see what kind of investment you're putting up in Tharaka Nithi. Gentlemen, I mean, and a lady, we're almost coming to the tail end of our conversation, but I want us to end things on a philosophical note. We want to give Kenyans hope. I mean, it's been tough. Let's face it. It's been a challenging year, 2024, but what people need is hope. And hope that is built on something. I want to give each and every one of you about 2 minutes so that we wrap it up. And I want you to inspire Kenyans and tell them something about 2024 that is going to turn around their fortunes, that is going to make Kenya great. And I want to start with PS Mang'eni.
I thought since I'm the only other gender here, I'll be the last. But
you don't want us to go with the ladies
it's
first.
okay. It's okay for me. ladies first. Thank
Yeah.
you. So I like, I must say I love this conversation. From this conversation, we can clearly say that you're looking into a brighter and a more action-oriented 2025. From where I sit in the MSME sector, we'll be looking forward to partnering with Kenyans of age. I mean, Kenyans who have come of age to engage economically, because the objective is that we leave no one behind. Now that we have already demonstrated that it's possible to actually serve and bank the people at the bottom of the economic pyramid, we'll be taking that to another level to create a pipeline through which we can now crowd these good Kenyans into enterprises. Let me tell you, O'Brien, the difference between us and South Korea, if you look at us, we are almost the same age of economy, as almost a similar population size, and where we started from, our aspiration are almost the same. However, what sets us apart is the number of enterprises that can employ at least 5 jobs in South Korea. South Korea have over 500,000 enterprises that can at least create 5 sustainable jobs, secure and sustainable jobs, whereas in Kenya we have 75,000 enterprises that can achieve that. So what we'll be doing beginning next year, 2025, is the year of action, is the year of not just rolling out, but making sure that it happens. My KPI will be how many formidable enterprises am I bringing to the economy? How am I supporting them in terms of growth? I'm going to invest more in building an ecosystem, a business supportive ecosystem, business development, to make sure that those ideas are properly incubated, properly accelerated, and then they can be able to access affordable credit, sustainable market. And next year, Kenya will be hosting the East Africa MSME Trade Fair around October, which will bring to us MSMEs from 8 member states in the region. You're looking into a market of more than 300 million people. This is an opportunity to put our value chains in Kenya to test and see what other countries, neighboring countries, are doing. And this will augment the work that we've done last year and this year in terms of building up and opening up the market with our neighboring countries. We are looking at economic partnership with AU. We're looking at the ongoing negotiation in strategic trade and investment partnership with the US. We're looking at various bilateral agreements that we have signed in last 2 years, and we want now to put this into action to make sure we maximize, but the end product is the jobs that we're going to create in the economy. So be hopeful. Thank you.
The jobs that we are going to create. I want to turn to PS Ololtua. What is your message to Kenyans in the year 2025, and what is your projection?
The message to Kenyans for the year 2024 is first and foremost that we become patriotic Kenyans. This is a very beautiful country that cannot be compared to any other in terms of our national heritage. If you look at what we have a beautiful culture, we have beautiful landscape, we have our beautiful beaches and lakes and oceans, we have our beautiful sports people, just to mention a few. And I believe that the numbers that we have of visitors that we are attracting, whether they are coming to invest or just to defend, can be very, very high if we just become proud of our country and participate collectively in marketing and projecting our country in the positive trajectory. So that is my rallying call, that let us all participate in building our nation in terms of patriotism and in terms of what we are going to do. For the tourism sector, my projections are very clear, looking at the strategies that we have put in place, including, of course, partnering with the immigration, the airlines, the security sector, the county governments and all other stakeholders, especially the private sector. I'm indeed convinced that going forward, we should expect to attain the tourist numbers that we have always targeted. We are targeting next year to clock 3 million, and of course 2027 5 million. But my dream my dream, which I think is a collective dream of Kenyans, is that like other countries who are getting 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, there is no reason why we should not be able to get them if we improve and put into action what we are planning and what we have.
Very good. Yes, PS Engineer Tanui.
Thank you very much. As we look 2023-2024, we laid the foundation of transformation. And looking at 2025, I believe this is the year of impact. I must say I'm very excited to share this panel session with Vimal, Shah, and Kuru. We admire the work they have done. Listening to Kuru, what is done in those regions, West Pokot, Samburu, this is the great stories that I believe we will be hearing more stories in the coming days. Manufacturing is the way to go. I would want to encourage Kenyans, let's buy Kenya. That's the only way we can build this country. Our policy makers, let's focus on policies that will attract more investment in our country so that we can see more manufacturing in our country. We are very happy to see what's already happening. Vimal Shah talk about competitiveness. I think this is the conversation we will need to have, both public sector and private sector, and how do we transition from traders, people who find products of competitive price and bring and sell in the country, to competitive production, competitive manufacturing in the country. When we visited ITAC this week, the device manufacturing facility, we were able to see they can manufacture actually a tablet 50% of the imported cost. So we need to align as a country and see how can we really focus and see more products being locally manufactured. Kuru has mentioned a student at Chuka University intending to manufacture. If we can now focus manufacturing as our next business focus as a country. I know many people go to China to look for products to import and the other regions, but if we can look at how do we look for these equipments for manufacturing now and see how we can establish manufacturing. The other part we are looking at as a ministries now to enhance the connectivity work that we are doing with our agencies and see how we can complete in this 2025 over 50% of the commitments we made in digital hubs, in commitments in the number of connectivity, in opportunities or access to digital opportunities, and really make the electronics industry take off in Kenya. We were happy that 2024, our president led a delegation to US, and we were able to sign some very important achievements. Kenya being included in part of strategic partnership in electronic manufacturing to semiconductors industry. And we are happy to say that we are seeing this forming and Kenya establishing an electronic industry. This is one area we want to see it grow to the next level. Also, we want to see working with our partners, digital platform like Meta, Facebook, unlocking more monetization in our country. We are happy to see young people creating digital contents and able to make money. So in the next year, we want to see more impact. My expectation 2025 will be more impact and seeing testimonials from actually people who are benefiting from what the foundations that we have laid. So we are looking for impact and testimonials from Kenyans in terms of what we have laid.
Thank you very much. John Okwiri, what's your projection for 2024 in a minute?
Yes, for 2024 we are looking
2025.
2025,
yeah.
Yes. For 2025, we are looking forward to populating the Konza Technopolis with investors. Konza being an investment destination, we've laid the necessary infrastructure for our investors. And as a special economic zone, we are going to pursue more investors settling the Technopolis. That will enable us to create more job opportunities as we are looking to making the life of our people better. And also looking at the digital economy, looking at the digital job space. We are spearheading the establishment of the digital hubs through the digital superhighway, and we are looking at creating more impact through providing the necessary space for our young people to establish themselves as digital job workers. And in that, we intend to create more job opportunities for our young people through the digital job space. We are also looking at enhancing the knowledge economy. Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, the university, is getting its charter in the year 2025, and we believe that we'll be able to intake the first students of the university who are going to focus on research and development for our SMEs. It's an environment that provides us with the linkage between the government, the academia, and the industry. And this, we believe, will provide the platform for our SMEs to provide an environment for more research and development for their products. And therefore, creating more job opportunities in the country. So 2025 looks very exciting, and we believe that we are going to achieve the necessary impacts that we need to create as a country. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Brian. You talked about giving hope, and first of all, at a macro level, I think all our macro indicators are turning green. We've seen foreign direct investments increasing, the exchange rate stabilizing, inflation going down, and therefore it is our hope that this is now going to trickle down to the micro level in the coming year. Having said that, we want our people to take advantage of the opportunities that are in the digital space. In addition to the digital jobs, which, by the way, are very many. For example, in a recent engagement with the Germans, we understand they have about 150,000 ICT professional jobs. And the numbers are increasing in Europe as because of the shift in demographic. But the bigger opportunity is using the technologies to actually solve social and economic challenges. And it is said that opportunities do not happen, they are created. So it is a challenge for all of us to use the digital space to create those opportunities. They are there, they are borderless, and our work at the authority is to then provide the requisite infrastructure, skilling, and empowerment for us to be able to achieve these opportunities.
Very well.
This year we have achieved 1.5, we've crossed the 1.5 million mark in terms of fixed internet connectivity. Next year we're looking at probably doubling that, because we have now accelerated the deployment of fiber infrastructure in the country in collaboration with Kenya Power, and it is our hope that through that backbone, the internet service providers will be able to connect many more people into the internet.
Very good. Vimal, yes.
Yeah, I think where we've come from and where we're going, it's only 62 years of independence, and we are going forward. 2025, in my opinion, like everybody else has said, is a year of action. In terms of the people, I would say, let's make sure it's not anymore about haki yetu, it's about wajibu wetu. Let's make sure that we are all responsible for making things happen in the right way. A lot of fake news needs to be put off. But I'd say one thing to government also, and I think a lot of people here are from government, you are very poor at communicating. Communicate better, communicate well, and let people know your intentions, because that's where the mistrust is coming from. And therefore, we can actually get that much more harmonious. Lastly, I would want to say, let's focus on everything as competitiveness. Whether it's local value addition, whether it's tourism. Even in tourism, we're competing with Egypt, we're competing with other countries. There's no two ways we can make to 10, 20 million people, but then that would mean a huge amount of investment in everything. Airports, this, that, whatnot, and why not? But the hope is there, the potential is there. I would just say one more thing. Those people planning to leave the country in terms of moving, I would say postpone for 1 year. Let's give a chance for 1 year to the government, but the government to say, kusema na kutenda needs to be together. So that whatever we say, we do, we get it done, rather than saying we have intention of doing it. And therefore, we restore the trust. So I just want to say one thing lastly, that let's just restore the trust. We have no other place to go. This is the place. Let's make it even better. And let's make Kenya great again.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Guru, we are ending up with you.
Thank you very much, O'Brien, for inviting us, although you don't invite very often to us, and we don't charge. But I really wish each and everybody, all the Kenyans, a very happy Merry Christmas and New Year. And only I will say that we have to become more and more patriotic, more and more proud Kenyan, and let's not concentrate on politics. Let them do their business, let us do our own business, and we build our country. We try and bring the unity together, we try and bring the peace together, and let's see how we can be helpful to each other. And that's only the way forward. If we are going to involve ourselves in politicians, then politicians will involve themselves in our business and our work and our life. It's better we leave both together, and then when the politics comes, that time you do politics. But this is the time to work, this is the time to build the country, and this is the time for us to make sure that we build our own life. Then only we'll be able to build the country. I wish you all very happy New Year. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Very good. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much indeed for joining us and for being so gracious to be with us this afternoon. I know it takes a lot, to set aside your busy schedules to come here and share with us your insights. And of course, we don't take this for granted. Your time is highly appreciated. And of course, we look forward for more connections and for more collaborations going forward. And we hope that when we call you again in the future in 2025, you shall be available to talk to us. Your time is highly appreciated. Asante sana. And to the Kenyans who are watching this conversation, I've never tired, from telling you this. We only have one Kenya. We've got to love it. We must love our flag. We must love our nature. We must love our beaches. And I want you to ask yourself, how many trees have you planted this year? How many trees have you watered this year? And how many animals have you cared for, including the people of Kenya? We must love this country because this is our home. And I want to end this on a philosophical note. And this is a comment from President J.F. Kennedy when he was being sworn in. And this is what he told Americans. Ask not what the government has done for you, but ask yourself, what have you done for the country? My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Asante sana. Have yourself a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2025. Bye for now.